Hi, so I'm feeling a lot better and less crabby than I was yesterday. I can't 100% for sure say why. I guess one thing is that my boss just was feeling really well yesterday and really enjoying having her dinner and playing with her toys and stuff, and it just made me feel a lot better. I think probably part of the reason I've been so stressed and frustrated is just the fact that she's seemed so upset, and it's hard to I know what I can do to make myself try to feel better in this situation, but it's hard, um, I guess, for somebody who has a smaller range of things that they're able to do. It's a lot harder to try to find things that will work for them. And yeah, I guess it was just, I felt very sad. And I think, you know, if you're going to be staying home, one of the nicest possible things is to be staying with one of your best friends. But if the person doesn't want to engage with you because they're really unhappy, that also doesn't feel good. So I think that's another reason I wasn't really feeling well. I think she was just generally coming off as being quite annoyed with me because she just wasn't feeling happy. So there's that. Another thing was that I was dealing with a tiny issue with a friend that I wanted to talk to them about, and I got really stressed because, I kind of have this thing where this doesn't have to do with COVID-19 because it happened like 10 years ago. But when I was younger, I used to be in an abusive relationship with somebody who, like, whenever, basically, whenever I did anything that she didn't like, she would just, like, completely, like, have a huge meltdown. And, this, like, this mainly extended the things that she really didn't like were me, like, disagreeing with her, basically. Or, yeah, basically disagreeing with her or, like, expressing that any of her behavior hurt me. So it turned into this really serious thing because I think, like, at that point in my life, I didn't really stick up for myself properly in the relationship. And I always sort of had this attitude, like, okay, I can just handle this. I can just, like, manage this dynamic and our relationship will be fine. So I would always have this attitude like, okay, like she's doing something that's hurting me, like I do have this problem, and I can like find a way to tell her about it or like address it with her so that she won't like have a huge meltdown at me. And like yeah, it turned into this thing where I was always trying to like figure out like the correct way to do it because I always had this idea that like if I did it correctly, she wouldn't like react badly, and she would even like tell me that like she would even be like, oh well, like if you didn't do it in this and this way, then like I wouldn't have reacted like that, so it's your fault. And like because of that, I think I often have a problem where, like, if I want to talk to somebody about something, like, I start to get a little bit freaked out that it's going to be, like, a serious issue and, like, something awful is going to happen and that I have to do it in the right way. So I tend to try not to, like, just let something, like, fester and, like, stew over for a really long time without talking to someone because, yeah, it just isn't great, I don't think. Anyway, what happened was I was feeling a bit stressed, and I also was very aware that I was in a really, really bad mood and I was having a really bad reaction to everything. And I think I was just thinking, like, well, because this situation isn't going to change and it's going to be the same for months, then, like, how can I ever talk about this to my friend? Because I totally know that I'm not in, like, a normal mental state. And, like, I shouldn't really have a conversation about anything serious when I'm feeling like this, but, like, I don't know when I'm going to stop. So I decided to, I had a drink. That always helps. So, yeah. So I had a drink and I decided to just kind of text my friend about it, and stuff seems to be all right. So that wasn't as big an issue as I built it up to be. And also, I am just feeling better now. I think I was just kind of being dramatic, thinking, like, wow, for this entire time I'm going to be super, like, stressed out and mad and, like, not able to think clearly about anything. I'm fine. Yeah, so I'm feeling quite a bit better. I also, I just returned to my old house to get some clothes and a few things to bring back here, so I'll have more stuff for the long haul. And I had a few interesting adventures. I saw, well, this is actually kind of boring because you can't visually see what I'm talking about, sorry. In my neighborhood, there is this person who does a lot of like very elaborate sidewalk art that's mostly based on Pac-Man characters, and I saw somebody doing a lot of very colorful chalk art of hearts, and I suspect that it was the same person, so I'm very excited that I saw the artist in person, although I can't be sure because it wasn't Pac-Man themed art. I went to my local grocery store to get a sandwich since I was there, and one of the grocery store workers, instead of wearing a mask, which, you know, it's good not to wear a mask, it's great if you can like find another way to cover your mouth that isn't taking up a mask. So this guy had taken a Venom bandana or shirt or something, and he had like wrapped it around his face so that his like teeth and mouth and nose were replaced by the mouth of Venom, which I thought was really excellent. Then I get on the bus, and like the bus is quite empty, obviously, which is one of the reasons I feel, not that I would do it all the time, but I felt not like it wasn't particularly risky to take the bus because there was nobody else on it. So I was on it, and then this kid gets on the bus, and in San Francisco, I think people under 18 get free transit passes. That's been the case for a couple of years. So the driver started asking the kid for some sort of like official transit card proving that he was in high school. And like we were the only two people on the bus. Like we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like the streets are quite empty, and like I don't know what was up here. So the driver was like asking the kid for a card, and the kid was kind of surprised. And then the kid like was just like, man, like, don't question me. I will really hurt you. I'll beat the shit out of you. Like, don't mess with me. I was actually it made me feel a lot more normal to be witnessing the kind of ordinary public transit drama that I normally witness a lot. So this kid continued to threaten the driver, and like, what I thought was a bit funny, but also a relief, was that instead of making the kid get off, the driver eventually realized that the kid wasn't going to get off, and he just ignored him and like allowed him to ride the bus. And like I do kind of feel like, you know, we've got like 5 to 10% of people riding public transit right now, which is good. It means people are not going out, which they shouldn't be. And it's like, I don't know, does it really matter if the people who do ride it are paying for it or not? Because like they're just not going to be able to make the normal amount of money because of what the situation is. Yeah. Anyway, I returned home, and I saw on TV some good news, which is that Trump has decided that we can social distance until April 30th instead of trying to end it on Easter. So that's nice. I'm not really sure when or how he made that decision, but that's good. I'm glad that people will be safer. I saw something this morning that did piss me off. I've generally been in a good mood today, but I woke up this morning and I saw something on social media that made me get quite angry, so I'm going to complain about it. Basically, somebody on social media was just posting and saying, oh, I really miss being able to do such and such activity. And other people are saying, oh, I miss being able to do this too. And this person comes on and is like super somewhat aggressive in the way that they spoke to everybody, and is like, oh, it's like so privileged that you're talking about this when marginalized people are like dying or not being able to make income because of this. And it made me quite mad for several reasons. First of all, like, I may not think that everybody complaining about something on social media, whether it's related to this or not, is being reasonable about what they're complaining about. I may even be annoyed or offended by this, but I don't need to comment on their post and tell them that them being upset is like bad and offensive, because like really what's bad and offensive is like going out of your way to like complain that someone else is upset about something that you don't think is legitimate. Like, I don't know, I mean, when you do that to someone on social media, it's basically the equivalent of like if you heard someone talking in a public place and they weren't talking to you, and then you like go up and are like, that thing you're upset about, I consider it to be not as important as this other thing. And then you like list something that is important, and everyone has to like act like what you're saying made sense because you did list something that is like a more important issue. But like, okay, the second thing that annoys me here is that like there's no like implied equivalence of things with somebody just complaining about something that is relatively trivial, you know? Like I could be like, and this is something that really bothers me, I'm serious, like when I'm listening to my headphones and my phone either falls out of my pocket, so like my headphones get jerked on my head really hard, Or if I have my headphone cord like sort of dangling down stupidly and it catches on a doorknob or something and my headphones get jerked off. Those are two things that I absolutely hate and like really bother me. And me saying this doesn't indicate anything about my political beliefs or the things that I think are important. I can be legitimately upset about my headphones being jerked off, you know? I guess I've just like come to have a lot of frustration with the idea that like anybody being upset with something has to be like in competition with somebody else. So, yeah, that bothers me. I guess I feel rather strongly about this actually. I just think that there's nothing wrong with people expressing that something upsets them. You know, like maybe if somebody else has a status it's like I've lost all my income and I don't know how to feed my family, like you don't need to comment and be like, oh, I miss going to concerts. But like that doesn't mean that you can't even like personally feel that you miss going to concerts, or it's like supposed to be an insult to everybody else who has a more serious problem. And like I guess part of it is I just feel like social distancing is a really extreme and awful thing to have to do. That's why this has never happened for any other reason. It's really serious and it's really upsetting for a lot of reasons. And so, like, I feel that everyone is suffering. Like, even the people that are really lucky are always going, like, wow, I know I'm so lucky. And, like, you never hear somebody saying, wow, I'm so lucky, unless the person is, like, really suffering. So, I guess I just don't. There's just nobody who isn't suffering with this, and I don't understand, like, the need to take it personally when someone is upset about something else. Another thing that annoyed me is that the person was like, wow, you're so privileged, like some people will never even get to go to a concert, or whatever the thing is that the person was complaining about. And like it was kind of funny because the thing that they were missing was not particularly expensive or like obscure to do, so it just came off as very random. Like, you know, I feel bad if somebody was going to have their wedding and they had to cancel their wedding. Like, I'm probably never going to get married, and I certainly wasn't about to get married. That doesn't mean that, like, just because that's not something that I can personally relate to, that doesn't mean it's not upsetting for them. Like, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought because I got my usual situation where I can hear everybody else in the house and I'm sort of listening to their conversations and trying to talk at the same time. Okay, what are the things that annoy me about this? Coming up and telling someone they're not allowed to be upset about something that upsets them, saying that if you're upset about something trivial, you can't care about things that are important, saying that like minor things are like super privileged to be able to do. What else? Not really much else. I guess I just really, really hate the kind of social justice-y dynamic that happens in some communities. And honestly, I think the reason it bothers me is because I think it's also kind of common in like abuse dynamics, where the idea is if somebody's really upset and they have something to be upset about that in this case was legitimately bad and upsetting, but in some cases isn't, if somebody's legitimately upset about something, then they can like act in like any way and they can just be totally shitty to other people, and everyone has to like, I don't know, just be like, oh, totally, like you have a point, that's like very fair. And it's like, bro, it's not very fair. Like, it's not fair to like come and start insulting somebody who just says that they miss going to concerts and that they feel sad about it. Like, it really annoys me. Like, I feel like I'm trying to think of something really, really, really fancy and luxurious, like that I don't, and that most people don't actually have access to. But like, I don't know, let's say that somebody likes to go to some like really fancy, expensive, and exclusive club every day, and that's like where they see all of their friends, and that's what makes them feel good in life. Like, if they're not able to do that now because of social distancing, I would guess that like they feel pretty bad and depressed because they've kind of given up like a big thing that they really enjoyed in their life that was a source of like social time and like good feelings and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, I can like legitimately feel bad for them and feel like it's like legit for them to be upset, even if it's a really fancy, expensive thing, and even if like objectively not being able to go to a fancy club isn't bad, like it is bad to have like all the regular stuff in your life taken away. And that said, it's much more important that people are dying, and people losing their jobs is really important too, and I just don't like, everybody should do everything they can to help those people. But there's like legit no reason that you can't just feel personally bothered about the most minor things that you've had to give up. Like, it's just not a contest. I guess I just feel like at times in my life when I've tried to be like, oh, all my problems are so trivial, I won't think about them, I won't talk about them, I'll pretend they don't bother me because they're not important and I'm privileged. Like, I just don't think that that really improved me as a person or improved my behavior toward other people. Um, I don't think it made the world better, and I just don't like that attitude at all. Um, that's about it. I feel a lot better, so that's cool. I will try to make some more positive videos in the future as I'll hopefully continue to feel better. Sean, I really hope that you're on the upswing and that everybody in your house is doing okay. That's all.